everyone, it's me, Lisa, and today I'm coming at you with another book review. The book review of Black Cake by Charmaime Wilkinson. For this book, there's not a ton to talk about, but there's still some, so without any further ado, let's get down to the review. Okay guys, so this book, let's just say as a get-go that it took me quite a while to get into. I was supposed to make the review last week, but I just couldn't feel passionately about the characters and have interest enough to keep reading, so I kept stopping, and this week I finally got down to more reading. I literally forced myself, and this is how I finished this book, because it was not unpleasant, but it was not even strikingly great, so I wasn't compelled to stay glued to the page and finish the book. And since I have Audible on me, and on Audible I have tons of great reads that I'm waiting to go on with, for example Little Women, which is the book that I'm currently reading, I just couldn't get on with it. So that is that, and the reason for this is twofold. Reason number one is because the format of the book is quite strange, and I know it's a little detail, but it bothers me in some regard, because every single first page starts with the first line in capital letters and then goes on. I don't know, I didn't find that appealing. A second thing is that the story is scattered around, and I mean scattered. The chapters are very small. You can see this one finishes in this page, and they are all a maximum of like 2 or 3 pages. Like you see this one finishes there, this is a single chapter here, so it's very small. And we start with the story of these two children that after the death of their mother go on to listen to a recording that reveals to them that they have a lost sister that they have never met. The premise of the story is good, but within the recording we jump around a lot from the story of the children and the story of the mother, and it's a bit jarring. This is the danger with time jumps. It can become jarring, and I think that in this book it was a bit. Very simply because the people changed name quite a lot throughout, because for example Benny was one of the children and also someone from the past, and in the past a friend of her mother was called Bunny as a little nickname, and in the present she was called Benny. And I don't know, the choice of name was a bit questionable, but not terrible, but still there was this constant jumping around that I was not thrilled about. The story itself was not bad, certainly a history of hardship, of escaping from the motherland, of not finding a place where to settle, so certainly that I found was really interesting. It also had some very interesting remarks about Black life and how Black people live, and for example the son that is called Byron, he is quite rich and still cannot afford to go around with his car because cops find that he is not allowed to have an expensive car, and so constantly stop him, forcing him to buy a different car that is less expensive and fancy just to simply be able to live. So I think that is sweet and terrible at the same time. And the relationship between the main character is a scattered as the text is. They keep lying to each other and they keep withholding things from each other until this very moment where the story starts and they start confessing, and so they go from being jerks to being nicer people. This has a sense of causality, but the reason why I didn't really get into it is because everything is narrated in third person, and due to the very jarring and scattered way of how the book is expressed, like you see here, this is one chapter and it's so small, so scattered, it changes point of view at all times. We don't really get into it, or at least I didn't. For me, it wasn't fantastic. I couldn't really get into the story as someone that could have been in the story. I always felt kind of left to the side. I couldn't really sympathize completely with the characters because I looked at them and yes, I could sympathize with them, but could not have related their experience to mine because it felt too distant. So that is that. And the element of the black cake. Black cake is the title, and what happens in the story is that the black cake is this classical dessert that is made where the mother is born and she keeps this inheritance with her throughout her life as she changes identity, goes from place to place and changes throughout. I think that was a sweet element of this black cake. However, in some regard, I felt that it was a bit overly included. Maybe it was just me, but I find that that was what happened for me, because they were constantly having this reminder of this black cake element that for the mother, I agree, it made a lot of sense, but then constantly having it reminded even in the life of the children, it could have made sense since it's a reminder of what their mother stood for, but at the same time, for me, it was a bit excessive. So that is that, and I think that this is the overall review of this book. It was good, but not great in my opinion, and there are other books that tackle lives of black people in other more effective ways. So I've heard loads about other books that really explore the issues related with blackness very well, and here we have, in my opinion, potential, but since we are so distant, we really feel like we're not involved, and that I think is a pity, because we should be able to feel it closer, the problem that black people are facing throughout their life constantly. So I think that that was a bit of a missed opportunity. If you are interested in stories that can touch your heart, this is definitely one, but you have to like the style this story is written, and in my opinion there weren't fantastical depictions of descriptions and other things throughout the story. I just outlined two different points in the story that were related to feelings, but at the same time it wasn't huge. I'm gonna read to you now. You were never just you, and you owed to the people you cared about to remember that, because people you loved were part of your identity too, perhaps the biggest part. This is great as an idea, and then I think it loses itself a bit throughout the story. But still, it was nice to read, certainly something that I do not regret. So if you are interested in black stories, this is one that you might like, and one that is particular because it revolves around this black cake, so you can really enjoy it. So as an overall, I hope that you enjoyed this book review, and that you will decide to give this video a like, and that you will decide to subscribe to the channel, join the family of readers that we are, and to see you all in the next video. Bye guys!